Welcome to another episode in the Jarring Science Club. I'm your host, Brenda, and today we're going to be learning about the 3 states of matter and what each of them are and what they look like. For this experiment, you're going to need 3 jars, you will need 3 balloons, and you will need some water and some ice. We're going to zoom the camera in a little closer and we're going to do our investigation of states of matter using a balloon. All right, let's get started. Here we are close, and the first thing that we're going to investigate is the state of matter that is a gas. Air is a gas that we breathe. Air is actually made up of a bunch of different types of gases, including oxygen and nitrogen, and it's the gas that we breathe. We also breathe out carbon dioxide. This balloon is actually filled with carbon dioxide because I blew it up with my breath. So I am going to let this gas out and we're gonna see what happens. So the gas escaped into the air, and because it doesn't have a color or a texture, you can't really see it. It just went back into the air. But you can tell that gas is matter because whenever I put this jar, the seemingly empty jar, into this cylinder of water, you're going to see that there's resistance. The water doesn't instantly fill up the jar. So let's see. When I push down on the jar, the water goes up around the outside of the jar, but it doesn't go inside of the jar because it's full of gas. It's full of the air that we breathe, which takes up space. So that means the air is matter. Now let's talk a little bit about solids. So inside of this balloon is ice and some water. Ice is the solid form of water, which you can see here in this jar. It's starting to melt and turn back into a liquid. Some substances change their state of matter. So in this case, we have frozen the liquid water and it's turned into a solid. When we apply heat, the ice will turn back into water. And if we applied even more heat, that water would then turn into a gas. There aren't very many types of matter that can have all 3 states like that, which makes water a very unique substance. Now let's investigate liquid. This balloon is filled with a liquid. It's filled with water. And liquid is a state of matter that whenever you put it inside of a container, it will expand to fill that container. So when I put this balloon of water into this jar, it's going to spread out and take on the shape of the jar. That is a unique property of a liquid. Now that's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to just put a little bit of this colored water in there so you can see. Now you can see that the liquid from the balloon, instead of being balloon shaped and remaining balloon shaped, it is now taken on the shape of the jar. That's what liquids do. They morph to become the shape of the container that they're put into. What other types of explorations can you do to explore the states of matter, liquids, gas, and solids? Here's the science. This week we are learning about states of matter. Matter is a fancy term for just something that exists. Matter is something that is made up of small particles to make a bigger object, and it takes up space and has mass, which is sometimes described as weight. Anything in the world, even including air and gases, are matter because they take up space and they have mass. Matter must have a physical presence. It is not something that you can imagine in your mind or think about and create from your imagination. It must be a physical something that exists in the world. There are 3 states of matter that exist in the world. One is a gas, and even the air we breathe is a gas. We breathe carbon dioxide and nitrogen and other gases, even though it looks as if it's not taking up space. When you put it inside of a balloon, you can tell that it is taking up space because it fills up the balloon with something. If it wasn't matter, it wouldn't be able to fill up the balloon at all because it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't take up space. So the fact that when you blow air into a balloon and it takes up space, that means that it is in fact, matter. Matter can also exist as a liquid. This balloon is filled with water, and a liquid is one of the states of matter. Matter can exist as a gas, or a liquid, or a solid. All are matter, and sometimes heating an object or changing its properties in some way can change the state of the same type of matter from one to another. For example, when you freeze water, it turns into ice. This balloon is filled with ice. Because it is cold, it has been modified to transform from a liquid to a solid. Solid is another state of matter. And in fact, water is also a unique piece of matter because it can also turn into a gas. Whenever you boil water, it evaporates and turns into steam, and that's water's gaseous form. Today, we're not working with hot water because it is dangerous. We're going to use air for our gas instead of steam, but you can just know that water can be a liquid, a solid, or a gas. In this state, it is a solid. A solid will keep its shape unless something is acted on it from an outside force to change its shape. In this case, since it's ice, heating it up will change it back into a liquid. Liquids will fill the form of the container that they're in. If I pour this balloon into this jar like we did in our experiment, the liquid comes out of the balloon and takes up the space of the jar. It displaces the air that's inside of the jar and replaces it with the liquid. A gas will also do the same thing as the liquid. It will disperse and fill up a container, but because we can't really see air, we won't be able to tell that this is going on. The only way that you can tell this is going on is when you take your jar of air and you put it over something like a liquid, and then you can see that when you put force on the jar into the liquid, it doesn't fill up the jar with water as long as you keep that seal on there and keep the air trapped inside. Knowing what matter is and how matter takes up space and has weight or mass is one of the fundamental principles of science that you need to have a scientific understanding of the world. In the next lessons this month, we'll be going over some other ways to explore matter and how we can help sort matter and find out how matter changes with external factors. That's it for today. See you next time.